SA News AIE Conference Sponsor Spotlight. Joining me today is Thabiso, Head Strategy and Investor Relations at Santam, one of the conference diamond sponsors. Thank you for joining me, Thabiso.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
So, Santam is one of the most recognized names in the South African insurance space. What makes the AIE conference an important platform for you this year?
No, thank you again for the opportunity. I think the Africa Insurance Exchange is one of the few places where essentially I think you get to see the entire insurance value chain sitting in one room. So you have the brokers, the insurers, the reinsurers, and the regulators, they're all coming in one place. And I think if you think about the risks that we face today, we simply cannot be solved by a single link of that chain. So therefore, I think we as Santam, as the largest insurer, we see ourselves not only as a product provider, essentially, we see ourselves as a partner for South Africans' resilience. And specifically this year, I think the risk landscape continues to shift and develop so much faster. If you think about climate, technological development, we talk Gen AI these days, but the infrastructure itself, the economy, all they find themselves under pressure. I think being a diamond sponsor is our way of saying we want to help lead the conversations, and it's not really about the attending, but it's to say, how do we drive the thought leadership around finding solutions to the complex challenges that we do face as an industry, as a country, as a global economy.
I really like how you positioned that, Thabiso. So, as a diamond sponsor, what message does Santam want to bring to brokers, insurers, and industry partners at AIE?
So if you had followed me in the last 12 months or so, both in the engagement with the G20, B20, recently with our partnership with South African Weather Service, there's one message that I keep on anchoring on, is that resilience is now the core business of insurance. It's no longer a nice to have that sits alongside it. Therefore, we need to protect more than assets. Protect the freedom of people and businesses to grow, take opportunities, knowing that someone stands behind those. At the heart of it, I think insurance is, yes, paying claims is important, but it's no longer enough on its own. We have to help reduce risk before it becomes a loss. And the example is we at Santam, we've got a partnership for risk and resilience, which we've had it for a number of years, where we work with more than 100 municipalities. We've touched over 24 million lives because we realize that paying claims matters, but importance of preventing disasters before they take place is also truly transformational. So to our partners, the message is really simple. The protection gap we've been talking about is far too wide for any of us to close that. Therefore, we do need to do it as a partnership, essentially. So that's really the key message.
I love that, and I think it's so true what you say, that we've long moved past the fact that we are insurers and businesses and the public space operating all on our own. This is all really a collaboration to make things work for everyone, for us and for our clients at the end of the day.
Definitely.
The AIE conference brings together such a wide mix of role players, like you said, across the insurance value chain. So what kind of conversations do you believe the industry needs to have more openly on a platform like this?
So there's essentially three topics that we tend to tiptoe around. One is, you heard me speak earlier on around the protection gap, but I want us to have an honest conversation. And this is not widely known. If you recall last year, we had a flood event in the region of Umtata. But I can attest to you that there were probably fewer claims ever registered by the insurance industry. So if you talk about the real scale of the challenge that we have around the uninsured, it's a conversation that we need to have. And I think it's our responsibility to start navigating and driving that conversation. Secondly, our own relevance as the insurance industry, where premiums are under pressure with a tough economy, we have to be able to justify why we can bring value beyond just the claim check. Key part of it, I think, prevention, advice, and partnerships are important. The third part of it that I think I want us to talk about is, the limits to competition. When you deal with systemic risks like we have today, climate, wildfires, infrastructure, insurers, government, and communities do need to come together. And we need to find opportunities where we can share data, where we can continue to build these early warning systems. And that, I think, it's areas that ordinarily and we used to compete on as an industry. And I think the African Insurance Exchange is exactly that room where we need to have these conversations candidly. I think on the last part, we have a good example to date in the industry where, for example, we've got what we call the Quick Fire Reaction Force, where Santam, together with other 4 peers in the industry, came together or have come together to say that the Western Cape during the summer season and Mpumalanga during the winter season, autumn to winter, they suffer greatly from wildfires. Let's come together and contribute to really dealing with the wildfire challenges that we face in the industry. So those are some of the examples. So I think, in my mind, the Africa Insurance Exchange is exactly the right platform to have these conversations on these 3 topics. Just to recap, protection gap, we need to narrow that down, and we need to think around prevention. And thirdly, is that we need to come together and build early warning systems as the industry and other stakeholders, including government as well.
And I think it's important that we start the conversation there, but that we force ourselves and that we make sure that that is just the start of the conversation, because there's a lot to talk about. And I appreciate also that you've mentioned the uninsured, because there's also the part of people that these people who are uninsured, who can afford insurance, but just are not aware. Yep. But then there's also a big market who physically cannot afford any form of insurance. And how do we, as a country, as an industry, and as a government, look after those people as well? Like you say, it is our responsibility. The place that's important for us is the broker space. So Santam has played a strong role in the broker market. How do you see the role of brokers evolving in helping clients understand risk and better manage insurance decisions? It's that risk management thing we've been speaking about.
So maybe that's my real answer, because that I don't think it will ever change around the role of the broker. Broker is essentially not just a policy provider that people have known, is essentially the client's risk manager and advisor. And I think that is what, from our perspective, is one of the important shifts that has happened in the industry and in our market. And if you do think about, I think, just taking you back to the insurance barometer that we released last year, brokers are still largely used. I think 3/4 of them are used by 3/4 of the businesses. Nearly 9 in 10 describe themselves as risk advisors rather than intermediaries. So if you think about the complexity that we do face today, our clients don't just really need a policy, they need someone, a partner, an advisor that would work with them alongside, help them understand their exposure, but also work with them to say, how do we reduce that exposure? So I think brokers are doing more than just site visits, sharing more. We see them doing risk management tools than ever. And I think from a Santam perspective, we see our role as bringing a lot more data analytics to support them to do brilliantly. We always talk about, in our own language, more than just insurance. And I think that's where we believe broker in their own world would need to play a lot more of a role and working aside the insurers to say, how can we help our client prevent loss moving forward? And I think that's really the key role that the brokers do, is that risk management.
Yeah, their role has most certainly changed quite a bit over the years. I think the last question, Thabiso, if Santam had one billboard message at the entrance of the AIE conference, what would you want to say to the industry?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think I've got two in mind.
This is freedom, doesn't count.
No. I almost went there.
I know.
But so I think I have two. We don't just pay what goes wrong. We'll help make sure less does, actually. And maybe to the theme of the protection gap I've been talking about, is that the protection gap is ours to close. So let's close it. So maybe that's what I'll really take one or two of those, and I think they sort of go together nicely.
You are a diamond sponsor, so you can have two billboard messages. That's fine.
I can take three if I have that opportunity as well.
Thank you very much for your time, Thabiso. I really found your insights really interesting, and I really thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. So see you at the conference.
No, thank you. Hopefully, we'll have fun. But also, I think we will have quite some good conversations that can get the industry moving forward and growing the industry, because I think it's about time we start to grow the insurance pie. It's been for so many years quite a small part, but we need to broaden that pie. And I think the message of resilience, protection gap, from our perspective, is a message that talks about how do we broaden that pie.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Thanks, Thabiso.
No, thank you. Thank you so much.